الحمد لله تعالى نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا ومن يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. Indeed, all praise is due to Allah. We praise Him. We seek refuge with Allah from the evil in our soul and from our evil deeds. Those who are guided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no one can misguide them. Those who are not guided by Allah, the Creator, there is no guide for them. I bear witness that there is no God, there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is His servant and messenger. O ye who believe, revere Allah as He should be revered, and die not except in submission to Him as Muslims. Amma ba'd. To proceed, I'd like to welcome you to the Islamic Society Leading American Muslims, an organization that was established to conduct dawah. And that means it was established to invite people to learn about the true and peaceful message of Islam. The second vision of this organization is to educate, empower, and nurture those people that come to this faith. Whether you were born in this faith and know it, born in this faith and don't know it, whether you converted, reverted, inverted, diverted, however you got here, we accept you for where you are in that journey.
I am inverted.
That's right. We do not allow any castigation, no criticism, no indictment. And that will be very hard for some of you to get rid of, or get used to and rid of. We have a lot of people here for the first time today that I want to recognize in a minute. But I want to reiterate that. How many people here can grow if I'm beating you up while you're trying to grow? Exactly. And you're not going to grow in your Islam. So we try to create a safe place for you to come back to. There are people that are attending my 10 o'clock prayer class that want to refresh how to pray. They were born into Muslim families, but they want to refresh how to pray. They want to make sure they're not missing the pillars of prayer. So we want you to know that that's what we stand for. In a minute, I'm going to ask the people that are here for the first time to introduce themselves, so muster up that strength to tell me who you are and how you got here. But let me just make a few announcements. I hope that all of you are enjoying the fruits and the benefits of Dhul Hijjah. As you know, this is the last month of the year in the Muslim calendar. It is the best days of the year. Just as the Lord created certain nights better, and certain days better, and certain hours better, these are the best days. So I will be covering about 9 slides. Last week we covered about 9 on Dhul Hijjah. And now some people ask me to talk about Qurbani, which I want everybody to know about and understand where that comes from. So we'll be talking about that, and we'll be moving back into tafsir of Holy Quran, inshallah, in Surah Al-Baqarah.
Can I ask one little question?
Yes, I may answer it later though. This is my spiritual mommy. Some people think she's my real mommy, but I just want to clarify.
So little. Can I do Qurbani with me and my son?
Yes, you can. I'm going to talk about that in just a few minutes, okay? I'll answer that. If I don't, ask me again, okay? I'll remind you. Okay, no problem. Alright, so I just want to cover some things. On Wednesday will be the day of Arafah. If you fast that day from dawn until sunset, you will receive expiation for the sins of the previous year and the sins of the future year. How many people think you could benefit from that? Okay. And I gave the proofs for that last week. So I want to encourage everybody to practice that. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam always fasted on Arafat except when? When he was a pilgrim. So when you're doing the pilgrimage, you cannot fast. Okay, it's prohibited for you to fast as a pilgrim. But that is the blessing that we have. If we did not receive the invitation to go to Hajj this year, then the invitation that we do have is to fast. The acts of worship are multiplied exponentially during the beginning of this month. So I encourage all of you, even when we get into the tafsir today, to make goals this week for things that you want to let go and things that you want to pick up. And by the way, if you haven't had your flu shot, we have free flu shots. Free flu shots today, right over here in the corner over here. So feel free to get your free flu shot today. That's right, your flu-free shot. Okay. So let me make some announcements, and then I want to recognize people that are here for the first time. We will be having a potluck next Saturday night, the 26th of September, at 6 p.m. at St. Luke's United Methodist Church. That's 6 miles. That's south, right, on Apopka Island. On the corner of Conroy Windermere and Apopka Island, you will see St. Luke's United Methodist Church. In the back of the main congregation is the original congregation, and that's usually where we have our potlucks. Bring your favorite meal and share it with the group. There's usually lots of interesting and great food there. If you'd like to make sure you know about all of the potlucks, if you contact Maysoon Suleiman at 407-288-6931, she'll send you an invitation. If you don't get it, it's probably gone to spam. So if you want to keep up with ISLAM Inc., the Islamic Society Leading American Muslims, then call me soon and make sure you get on our group. We'd love to have you as a member of our family.
They have a lot of biryani.
Yes, we usually have biryani, yes. Now, remember that the Eid, the most holy day of the Muslim calendar, will be Thursday, September the 24th. It will start here, correct me if I'm wrong, I think at 8:30. I would recommend that you get to Jama Masjid at 8 o'clock. If you do not, you will have a hard time parking, and you will not arrive at the prayer with Kashua. Does everybody know what Kashua is? Presence of heart. You want to arrive at the prayer with the right conditions in your heart so that you can receive. When you arrive at the parking lot after having had an argument with your spouse about who's responsible for you being late, your heart is not prepared to receive the great gifts that Allah has for you at that service. So when you're on the way to the masjid, even if you want to blame your husband or wife for being late, just make dhikr all the way there and forget about arguing. Just find yourself in a peaceful position with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and arrive there to receive all the benefits that you can from that very special day. What we will be talking about today in the class before we get into tafsir is what a lot of people do after that service. And that's called the Qurbani. It's the sacrifice. Now, just for those of you who don't know, this is to commemorate Ibrahim a.s.'s willingness to slay his son. When Allah told him that he had a dream, that in the dream he was sacrificing him, and he said to his son, well, what do you think about this? And he said, you will find me, inshallah, patient with whatever Allah has asked you to do. So both the father and the son were willing to do what Allah had said. But we see that this was a test, that it wasn't Allah's intention to actually sacrifice someone, but it was just a test. We also know that no one has ever been asked to do that since Ibrahim a.s., this ultimate sacrifice. So that's what we're celebrating, the sacrifice. After the prayer, you're all invited to join us. We beg you to RSVP. That will help us with catering. We would hate for you to go to the service in the morning and then be upset because you didn't get much to eat. Because we're trying to be a peaceful family, and people aren't peaceful when they don't have food. All right? So, at the Windsalt Clubhouse in Winter Park, from 10:30 to 2:30, we will eat, we will fellowship. You can bring your burkinis, you can bring your swimsuits as long as they're modest. The children, by all means, bring your swimsuits. There's a swimming pool there. We will have fun and fellowship, and you're welcome to join us. And there's the address of the, what's it called? The clubhouse. 1761 Lookout Landing Circle, Winter Park, Florida. All right.
Too far.
Now, I'm sorry about that. Maybe someone can give Mommy a ride from here after the service. If anybody would volunteer to give Mom a ride, I would appreciate that. And she lives right here across the street. So, if anyone needs alterations, mending, any sewing needs, or ironing, please contact Kathy. Kathy, please stand up so everybody can see you. Kathy has been a student of mine since 2005, right? About that. Kathy has her 2 grandchildren that she is the guardian of. Kathy, when she was on oxygen years ago, when she first became a student of mine, was running around collecting gifts for a fundraiser that we did. So Kathy is a phenomenal person in our community. As a matter of fact, we went to a wedding last week and Naran had purchased a dress and that was sleeveless. In order to make it an Islamic dress, Kathy sewed in sleeves, and she can take non-Islamic clothing and make it Islamic. So if you're looking for something like that, and my wife is masterful at coming up with these things, and Kathy can produce the end result. So we want to help Kathy because she is a single mom and grandchildren, and she needs a little support right now. So we do collect non-perishable items. There are 2 bags over there. We take this to local food shelters. This is another form of dawah that we like to do. So if you can bring a bag of beans or just a can of food. Beans are nicer because they're easier to transport. Canned food gets a little heavy, but anything you'll bring, we donate it to the local shelters. They know that Muslims care about non-Muslims. It's a great form of dawah. Also, unbroken cell phones. If you have a cell phone that you threw under your bed in a shoebox, or it's on top of the refrigerator collecting dust, or in a drawer collecting dust, or in the night table beside your bed that you no longer use, we don't need the cord, but as long as the phone is not broken, we take those phones and we turn them into devices that are used by victims of domestic violence so that they can call 911 if they are in need. We have donated approximately 700 phones. Almost 1,000. See, I'm behind. We've donated almost 1,000 phones. Please, if you will, donate your phones. This is for a great cause. For some of you may not know this, I am the Vice Chair of the Orange County Domestic Violence Task Force, and I'm also currently working on the Fatality Commission that reviews every case in Orlando or Orange County where a death occurs in a situation of domestic violence. So we have to take this serious. It's a very big issue, and so I would like to ask for your support in the Muslim community toward that. Empty ink and toner cartridges, don't just toss them away or put them in your recycling bin. Bring them to class. We turn them into staples, and that provides us with most of our office supplies. The ink toner and cartridges that you give us actually provide us with a large portion of our ink and the office supplies that we use, except for our printing and Islam ink. Also for coupons, if you find coffee coupons, creamer coupons, Maysoon uses those to try to save money for the refreshments that we buy for the class. But that's enough announcements for now. I want to start on this side. If you're here for the first time, would you stand up? Nobody over here for the first time? Okay. We're going to have a whole lot of people standing up over here. That's wonderful. Okay, what's this, the right wing and the left wing? No, I'm just kidding. Yes, Mom?
One quick thing. I have a relative sister, Cher. She has a stroke. Please ask them to pray for her.
Please make dua for Cher, who has had a stroke. And we also want to continue to pray for Dr. Kazi. Dr. Kazi is doing explorative work right now to find out how to address his issues with cancer. We have been praying for you. We are remembering you. And we are, please reach out to him. Please get, I hope everybody, Dr. Kazi, will you stand up a minute? I'm shining the laser on you. Healing. Please reach out to him. I know that Maysoon and Sister Naran and Kathy have been reaching out to him. Please get his number. Give him support. We want to prove to him he doesn't have family here. He doesn't have family here. We want to prove to him that we're his family. So that when you come to Islam Inc. and you hear that Islam Inc. is a family, It's not just words, but we want to make it a reality. So please, I beg you to reach out to Dr. Kazi and let him know that you're his family at this time of his. So on this side, if you are here for the first time, please stand and remain standing. Don't be shy, sisters. This is an equal opportunity place here. We believe in gender equality. Don't sit down yet. Don't sit down yet. All right. All right. And you're here for the first time, right, young man? Okay. So would you like to stand up and tell us your name and how you got here? You got here through your mother. Most of us did. That's good. I'm glad to hear that. Okay. Welcome, Adam. Hopefully you'll come and join us again. Mashallah. We do all that whole thing going on. Yes, please, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Jennifer from the Tampa area. I'm a guest of Dr. Kazi.
Right, we're so happy to have you, and hopefully this will be the first of...
I just said nice to meet all of you.
Oh, okay, all right, sorry. I thought that you didn't hear her name. So, did everybody hear the name?
Jennifer.
Jennifer, okay, mashallah. Welcome, welcome. Please
Hi,
introduce yourself.
my name is Nabila. I'm here with my 3 kids, with dad.
Alhamdulillah.
I caught up in the class with my sister-in-law, Sadia, and Layla.
Mashallah. Are you part of the Ma'ali clan? Yes, mashallah. It's a big clan. Okay, don't believe that. Would you introduce yourself?
My name is Zoe. I'm here with my husband, Ma'ali, my brother, Waqaras.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, and I found out about this class from this beautiful.
Mashallah.
So I think Layla's got the most points now for recruiting.
Layla, we appreciate your missionary work. Mashallah. Now, the gentlemen that are with you, have they been here before?
No, this is their first time as well.
Oh, okay. So let's just right under the bus. Right under the bus. All right. So since they didn't want to stand up, I didn't make this feel safe. I want you to introduce. Let us know their names so we can reach
My
out.
husband, Rachel and Honey.
See how good he listens, guys? That's a wise man right there. Is he always listening? Don't answer that. All right, that's your husband,
Ma'ali.
Ma'ali.
Yeah, and that's my brother, Firas.
Alhamdulillah for us. Welcome. And he listens good too, huh? Allahu Akbar. Okay. Welcome, sister. I hope this will be the first one.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, my name is
MashaAllah. Welcome. Welcome. Yes.
My name is Sakina, and I'm Adam's mother. On the side, and I was told by the program.
Very good. Who's not here today? Okay, well, good. We're glad you're here. MashaAllah.
My name is Tina, and I'm Reverend Vega, and my cousin Samia.
Alhamdulillah. Welcome. Welcome. Hopefully this will be again the first of many times that you've come here. Welcome again. So, today we're going to talk about Qurbani because, and let me just share with those of you who are here for the first time. Typically, if I'm asked a question, I answer that question, and let me let you hear this from my students. How do I answer questions?
The Quran and Sunnah.
From the Quran and the Sunnah. So what you'll notice in the methodology of my teaching is that almost everything I say, I might say it, and then next will be a verse following up to actually validate what I said. Okay? So, just so you understand where I'm coming from, sometimes I get asked questions. Today I was asked a question about nail polish. And I will be addressing that question later on, but I want to give you the scholarly arguments for that question. I don't want to just come off of my own religion because that would be called Sept. And that would put me in the hellfire, and I'm not trying to go there. So the first thing I just want to talk a little bit about today is Qurbani. And before I start talking about Qurbani, I need to tell you what it is, don't I? But I want to share with you an interesting story. When I first became Muslim, I, by the way, come from a farming background. I'm used to slaughtering animals, but we did not do it the Islamic way. That was quite different, actually. We would shoot a hog in the head and then finish dressing it out. It was rather inhumane.
It's hot.
Now, it is hot in here, Mommy, I agree. And you should try being in front of these lights. It's about 10 degrees hotter, I think.
I asked Brother Ayub to put it down.
No, not
Alhamdulillah.
the light. You have light. I don't have light.
So let's talk about, I want to share with you this funny story. There was a young man that I was doing dawah to. He worked for NBC, and if you've ever seen the peacock on NBC, he actually designed that. I don't even know if it's still there because I don't watch TV. But anyway, his name was Christopher, so he adopted this name Isa, which we don't have to do when we become Muslim. By the way, we don't have to change our name. That is sort of actually a bid'ah, unless your name is like Pluto or it's the name of a god. You really don't need to change your name. You actually need to maintain your authentic identity and be who you are as a Muslim, because all of the shining stars, the companions of Islam that embraced Islam, they did not change their names. That actually became a Muslim name. So anyway, Isa said to me, I said, well, after the service, I'm going to be leaving really quick, Isa, because I'm going to go do the slaughtering. Oh, can I go with you, he said. And I said, sure, you can go with me, but he didn't tell me that he couldn't stand the sight of blood. He had no clue what he was getting into. So we go to this farm, and at the time we were living in Northern California. We go to this farm, and I go out on the field, and I pick the lamb that I want, and I just sort of hold the lamb, and the lamb comes with me very nicely, and just like it knows that it's going to be sacrificed for the sake of Allah. And I said, well, listen, brother, I just want to let you know what's going to go on. I want you to hold this camera and film this because I want my children to see this. And I said, what's going to happen is I'm going to lay the lamb down. I'm going to say Bismillah with this very sharp knife, and I can't do more than 3 things, and the blood's going to spurt everywhere. And before he could say anything, it was happening. And I looked over, and this guy was like fainting, and I said, catch that brother! So he's fainting, passing out because he didn't realize that the slaughter would involve blood. Yes?
I have 2 friends that told me they went to the farming last year, and they said the way they saw it, it wasn't humane. They were like trying to kill, and they could see the animals crying and in pain.
That it wasn't done correctly?
In one of the farms.
Yes.
2 separate places. One actually, I think, goes to this class once in a while. She told me, she was one, I'm not going to mention her name. And then somebody else told me that I'm friends with.
If it's done correctly, actually you can measure through EEG, and I hope am I saying that right?
EKG.
Doctors, no, not EKG. The one that measures pain in the brain. It's not EKG, it's EEG, right? Right, doctors in the room? All right. If it's done correctly, there will be no pain registered to the brain of that animal. It's the most humane way.
But isn't there someone to regulate that? Because this wasn't being done humanely.
Yeah.
They were crying, these animals. And she said they both said they would never go there again. Never do it again.
It is to be regulated. It should be regulated. Unfortunately, what's happened, sister, is that some people are exploiting Muslims. Just like, I hate to say this, but halal markets sometimes exploit Muslims because we pay about 4 times the price for halal chicken than we would pay for chicken that we can buy from Winn-Dixie or Publix. So when people realize that at Eid, I can make a lot of money because people want to fulfill this sunnah, then people go there, they don't know what they're doing, they haven't been trained, they haven't read, they don't have a sharp enough knife, and they actually hurt the animal.
Yeah.
So there are hadiths about this. Even the Quran, it talks about sharpening your knife. It talks about the importance, how it's actually haram to hurt the animal. So here I'm going to do something for Allah. I'm going to make a sacrifice. I'm going to do a good deed, but I'm actually losing part of my good deeds because I have hurt an animal. Animals have rights. Islam, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was the founder of PETA. He was the founder of animal rights. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, in the days of Jahiliyyah, they used to put a ring in the camel's ear, and he prohibited that. He prohibited it. So animals, we cannot mistreat animals. And I have another whole khutbah on that, but that's not for today. Actually, I have a whole khutbah on dogs, because a lot of people will say that dogs are haram. I won't go into it today, but that is a misunderstanding of your Islam. Dogs are not haram. Sometimes if they lick you before you pray, then you can't pray. But does that make the dog haram? No. Okay, so dogs are not haram. I just want to correct a misunderstanding here. Because actually in the Holy Quran, dogs are mentioned fetching food. So if you can eat food that a dog fetched, how could it be haram? And you can, I welcome you, go to any of your concordances and look up hound. Hound is a dog. Elvis said ain't nothing but a hound dog. Okay? I'm glad somebody finds the humor in my joke. Good thing I'm not paid for my jokes, right? If hounds are mentioned and they're actually able to get your food, then how can they be haram? Alright? So we'll talk about that another day. I don't want to get lost in that. That's another lecture. If you request it, I'll give it. And I'll talk about how many times dogs are mentioned in the Quran as well as in Hadith. Okay.
No question. One woman give the water to the dog, Allah send her to Jannah.
That's exactly right. There is one authentic hadith where a woman took her boot and put it down in the well and brought up water and gave it to a dog, and for that mercy and that compassionate act, she was given paradise, granted paradise. So that's another piece of dalil for how we are supposed to be good to animals. So sacrifice, commonly known as Qurbani, means slaughter of an animal in the name of Allah on the 10th, 11th, or 12th of the Islamic month of Dhul Hijjah. Now, according to the fiqh, the Islamic jurisprudence, it is actually allowed to go and pray the prayer of the Eid prayer and not stay for the sermon, for Eid, particularly for Eid al-Adha. Why? Because people would leave the prayer, which is the fard part, and they would then go and slaughter an animal.
Yes.
So, just so that you understand fiqh, imagine how many people have done it themselves in here besides me. Actually, I know Mommy has done it before. I'd like to have seen that.
Qurbani myself because my husband was scared.
Your husband was scared, yes.
He turned around and he stand far away, and I said, I will do it.
Alhamdulillah. You were a woman ahead of your time, weren't you, Mommy?
Of course.
Yes. Alhamdulillah.
Those days.
Okay. Yes, sister.
It's not allowed. Everybody. Yeah.
No woman can do it. Anybody can do it. Yeah, Islam is an equal opportunity place of worship except for leading the salat, and there are various reasons for that. And women can actually lead the salat if it's all women and they're not menstruating. They can lead a woman's salat. In China, there are a lot of masajids that cater to women. But is that the general rule? I want to ask everybody this. Please don't have side conversation, because if you do, other people can't hear. So please, if you want to share something, please share it with everybody, because everybody's trying to hear, and then I'll be responsible if you hear something wrong and you go out there and you do something wrong because of side talk. Yes, Charlie.
I just have a quick question.
Okay.
Because I know we should sacrifice, but I'm vegetarian and I don't have the heart to even kill a fly. So how does that work under those circumstances?
It is just fine. You don't have to sacrifice. Okay, and I'm going to get to the rules in a minute. Now, if you stay with me, I'll methodically present it. Because what if you don't have the money and you can't afford to sacrifice? It's not a requirement. So I'll be talking about all the rules. I just want to lay a little bit of foundation first for you, if I can. All right. Sacrifice is practiced by the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is an essential religious rite in memory of the sacrifice performed by Prophet Abraham alayhi salam. Allah put Abraham to a most difficult trial, the details of which are described in the Holy Quran. And Surah As-Sept, right there, verses 100 to 109, "O my Lord, grant me, Abraham, a righteous son." So we gave him the good news of a boy ready to suffer and forbear. Then when the son reached the age to work with him, he said, "O my son, I see in a vision that I offer you in sacrifice. Now say, what is your view?" His son said, "O my father, do as you are commanded. You will find me, if God so wills, one practicing patience and constancy." So when they had both submitted their wills to God, and he had made him prostrate on his face for sacrifice, we called out to him, "O Ibrahim, you have already fulfilled the vision. Thus indeed do we reward those who do right." For this was obviously a trial, and we ransomed him with a momentous sacrifice, and we left this blessing for him among generations to come in later times. So this is a blessing for those who can afford it, for those who can do it. Now, what most people do today is they actually pay somebody to do it, and some people don't even get any of the meat. I'm going to tell you what the sunnah is about it, but a lot of people send it to other countries, and it's done by other people. It's all about your intention. So, all of that is permissible. Okay? In Surah 108, Surah Al-Kawthar, verse 2, "Therefore to thy Lord turn in prayer and sacrifice." The aim of sacrifice, like all other fundamentals of Islam, is to imbibe piety and self-righteousness. So the more acts that you obey that are fard, that are obligatory, and the more sunnahs that you obey, the more blessings that you get from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, this is sort of the essence of what I said before. This morning at 10 o'clock I taught a prayer class. So I may be jumping around here because it's the first Sunday I've actually, in a while, teaching two classes sort of back to back. So, it is not their meat nor their blood that reaches Allah, it is their piety that reaches Him. He has thus made them subject to you, that you may glorify Allah for His guidance to you and proclaim the good news to all who do right. So it's not in the rituals that we do, it's in the heart of the matter. And this is why everything that we do as Muslims must be done with the correct conditions. It must be done from the ruh, from the Spirit of Allah in you. You must be connected with that Spirit whenever you do something for Allah. If you are doing it of yourself, so I'm now going to pray, for example. Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Maliki. Did I pay that bill last night? I can't remember. Did I make that phone call I was supposed to make? Let me see. What time is it? Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Maliki, Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. You know, then are you doing a ritual or are you praying? It's a ritual. So what the very foundation of the prayer class that we're covering is how important it is to do what you do in Islam with the proper conditions. Allah has given conditions for everything that you do. Everything. So if we go through life and we do a lot of great deeds, but we do not do them for Allah. If I'm teaching this class to show off, then I am doing it for my nafus, for my lower self, for my ego, so that everybody will say, "Oh, look at Imam Sykes, mashallah, he's an old fart that became a Muslim 30 years ago, and now he's teaching Islam. Allahu Akbar." If I'm doing it for my ego, then not too healthy. Because my ego is problematic. But if I'm doing it for Allah, then alhamdulillah, Allah will give the reward for it. Inshallah. No one should suppose that mere blood is accepted to the one true God. Now, in the days of Jahiliyyah, there was a tremendous amount of animal sacrifice. If you go back and you study your history, and you actually study the introduction into the Bible of the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, there's a book, When Did Jesus Become God? It's a great book. I recommend it for everybody to read. It's not an easy read. It's a scholarly read. And it talks about sacrifices and how that prior to the so-called creation of this crucifixion story, because people had been so accustomed to triune gods and people had been accustomed to sacrifices, that they had to, in their mind, so-called create a story that Christ was crucified, because what did they say? That you are washed in the blood of Christ. And even when the priest takes the wine and consecrates the wine, what does he say that that wine becomes?
Blood.
The blood of Christ. And he takes a little wafer and that becomes what? The body of Christ. Doesn't that sound like human sacrifice? If you do your research, folks, there are volumes of stuff, historical stuff written about how this crept into the first 3 centuries of Christianity, this ideology of animal sacrifice that resulted in the story being made up that Christ was crucified. Allah accepts the offering from our hearts or of our hearts, and as a symbol of such offer, some visible institution is necessary. He has given us power over the animals and permitted us to eat meat, but only if we pronounce His name at the solemn act of taking the animal's life. Look at the mass marketing of animals today, and if you want to get a shock, just Google. You know, I don't usually recommend Shake Google. I don't like Shake Google. Shake Google will mislead you. But if you Google this, just Google how many pounds of meat are thrown away a day in the United States of America because of mass marketing strategies, because of greed, because of nafus, because of people's greedy desires. So it's very, very important to recognize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said when we sacrifice an animal, we do it with the name of Allah and we eat the meat. Even today, when well, I can't say today, in 2004, was it 2004, Noreen? Where's my computer? What year was I in Saudi?
1998.
1998, wow, I was off. In 1998, when I was in Saudi, I did not see mass marketing of meat in plastic packages sprayed with various chemicals to make it look good for as many days as possible and then consumed by the people. It's just not, it was not a concept at that time. From those who are here that visit the Middle East often, is it still that way? Anybody can answer that for me? It's not mass marketed like when you go to the Winn-Dixies and the Publix and the, yeah, where they, oh, it is in some places. Okay, all right.